Just outside of Chamberlain, South Dakota. And during September, this is the month, 1804, this is the month that Lewis and Clark were making their way along the river. We left the river for a while, but you can just show this prairie. This is what the country looked like. To Lewis and Clark, a total Garden of Eden. It was just gorgeous up here. Anything can be farmed here. The land was plentiful with buffalo, deer, elk. The hunters could bring in as much food as they needed to every night and more. They took short hunting expeditions, and then it was over. There was so many animals up here. Sorry, I'm right off the highway here, but it's just a very nice spot to show you what the land looked like when Lewis and Clark came here. And so on September 7th, so the men are paddling up the river really hard. They're working from sunup to sundown. They ate on average of 9 pounds of meat per night. And so, save some for the next day. And then whatever cornmeal that they wanted if they were still hungry. But they're working really hard and struggling. So 9 pounds of meat on average a day. On September 7th, Lewis is off on a stroll and he finds himself in the middle of Prairie Dog Town. The middle of this, all these prairie dogs jumping up and squeaking all around him. He's gonna call them prairie dogs, but he figures I gotta catch one of these things, and because he's trying to catch them, and so is bring things back. And so he goes back, he gets some men, and they come out into a prairie like this, surrounded by prairie dogs, and they decide to try to catch them. Well, they couldn't. At first they tried, all the men are scattered about, just jumping on top of them, which would have been hilarious to see. They weren't successful at all, they couldn't catch them. And so finally they just started digging where one of their holes was. They dug 6 feet down. That wasn't enough. They went and got 5 barrels full of water at the boat and poured the water deeper down still. And finally one of them came up, Finally one of them came up and they grabbed it, and they captured that one, and then they killed another one. And they are going to send these back to Jefferson, and there is one that's going to make it alive all the way back to Washington, D.C. But they named them prairie dogs because they would kind of bark. That was on September 7th. On September 8th, the next day, Lewis is going to kill his first buffalo. They had already killed buffalo before, but Lewis is going to get his first buffalo. And just to give you an idea of how much they were able to hunt, that day, September 8th, while Lewis brought in his buffalo, the hunters that day killed, where is it here? They killed 2 buffalo, 1 large elk, 1 elk fawn, 3 deer, 3 wild turkeys, and a squirrel. And so, and then, the next day, they saw a herd of 500 buffalo. And so this was just the land of plenty. Lewis was incredibly excited because this is American land now, and American settlers can move up here and farm the heck out of this and hunt this land if they wanted to. A few days later, on the 14th, Lewis killed what he said was a goat. It's actually a pronghorn or an antelope, as they're sometimes not incorrectly called. But they did not name that an antelope, but he killed one of those. That evening, one of the men brought in what he called a hare of the land. It was a rabbit that they'd never seen before, neither had anybody else, and so it was new to science. It was a white-tailed jackrabbit. So just daily bringing in all sorts of really cool stuff and things that could be documented for science that Lewis would measure and weigh and stuff and have sent back to Thomas Jefferson. TJ, my boy TJ. What are you doing, E-Doggy? Get out of my face. Nobody likes you. You don't have friends. All right.